Well, we have more of the tough questions for you. The next one is leadership coaching in China that is different than other parts of the world? And often this is a $64,000 question. So what's the difference? Why China so different with the rest of the world? So here we go.
Yeah. Marjorie, that's a great question. You know, in my doctoral research, I found that leaders become leaders when they understand the context and they are able to deal with the context in new and different ways. Context shapes leaders, and there are forces in the context. Some of these are social, some of them are historical, some are cultural, others are economic, structural, legal, and even educational forces. Many of these many of these forces are different in China than they are in Western countries. Here's an example that, when I first came to China, one of the things that I learned was, in using a more participative approach to leading was, I would ask people questions, ask them what they think. And I soon learned that a leader who's not willing to make a statement or make a strong decision, they can be seen as weak and not respected by their employees. Thus, leaders often engage in directing people on specific actions, maybe even bordering on micromanaging. The same can be seen as for coaches, leadership coaches. They're expected to give advice and to be advisors. So sometimes the word coaching in China is really more synonymous with advising.
Right.
I believe globally accepted principles of coaching suggest that the coach's role is to help the leader draw out their own insights and develop their own solutions by thinking about an issue differently or gaining knowledge they were previously unaware of. So I think, however, coaches who are unwilling to give advice in the beginning or suggest best practices to specific problems, I think they're often seen as being ineffective by Chinese business leaders. Yet, the irony of this is that leaders who get advice from coaches, and I put coaches in quotes here, is that they've not learned to think differently about an issue, and they actually will continue to need advisors. So, yeah, I think coaching does start out differently in China, but I also think that those coaches that are successful do use good questions, such as, asking, prompting deep thought, asking questions, listening deeply, and helping the person create solution they own and use going into the future.
James, that is really an excellent answer in terms of two separate areas. And contextual, absolutely. Leadership and coaching both are contextual. And in China, evolved the last 30 years, and in first 10 years is very strong technically. And the second 10 years began to think for themselves and starting to demonstrate professional conduct and also with self-awareness. And the third 10 years, now many leaders begin to be much more in the sense of spiritual and also with more holistic approach. And So in our experience working with Chinese colleagues, first few years and they expect directions, but the second few years they will come back to tell you, well, yes, this is good, but that's not working. And then the third few years, they tell you, yeah, this is okay, but I'll tell you what, this other way that combining Chinese and Western thinking will work better. So now we're into that phase that where Chinese leaders is inadvertently kind of adhering to what you just said. It's beautiful to observe. So and that goes to the same as to coaches as well. We as coaches also learn continuously and grow, and continue to update our own way of understanding and coaching, as well as really developing leaders from their own strengths.
Yeah, the coaching, one of the fun things about coaching, Marjorie, is that it's an opportunity to learn every day, every time you talk to somebody. So I appreciate your comment about that.
Indeed. You are the wise and strategic teacher. So as they say, when the student's ready, the teacher will show up. So we appreciate you in spending the time and years in China, and looking forward to continue our learning from each other and going forward. So what do you think for our community and in terms of coaching and leadership in China? What's next?
I think that's a great question, and I think that we need to continue to bring people together and help them see different mindsets. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of this and to let's look for the next chapter of the next book, where we can address that more. So
indeed. All right, James, that's our aspiration, to invite our readers as well as our authors to start a conversation on this platform. So, and this book is available now on Amazon, and both in print as well as an e-version. So check it out. So James, back to you.
thank you. Okay.